tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
I'm just blown away at how difficult it is.
Hundreds rally with an emotional plea to help solve the province's doctor shortage. Also,
and it's getting hard to compete at this point.
BC's restaurant industry in crisis mode. How a widespread labor shortage is forcing some businesses to get creative.
It's a real gut wrencher to give it up.
And meet the local 87-year-old pilot capping off his career with a cross-country farewell.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. Hundreds rallied in front of the Legislature today in Victoria, calling on the province to urgently fix BC's family doctor shortage. As Mira Baines reports, the crowd included physicians and patients desperate to find care before they fall through the cracks.
Hundreds gathered with a unified theme. Everyone deserves a family doctor.
I have not had a GP for 7 years.
In BC, about 900,000 people are without a family doctor. Frustrated patients are being forced to wait in line at walk-in clinics or worse, end up at hospital emergency rooms. Dr. Darcy Nielsen is a family physician in Victoria.
I'm 65. I've got 2 stents in my heart. I don't know what I'm going to do with my poor 5,000 family practice patients. They're hooped because really nobody wants to do generic family practice anymore because of the lack of pay.
She took in 2 new patients in the last year because they have cancer. Some doctors are choosing specialized care over family practice.
Because the compensation, the overhead, it's not financially sustainable. And right now, in Canada, 50% of all doctors meet the criteria for burnout.
One of the main issues is the fee-for-service model, which compensates doctors $31 per patient visit. The group BC Healthcare Matters is calling for more transparency. They want the provincial government to release more data around urgent primary care centres and exactly how patients are being served. Rally organizer Camille Curry is with BC Healthcare Matters. She says a petition with 42,000 signatures has been delivered to the province.
We asked for the compensation model for family physicians to be reassessed, brought up to par with other provinces.
Curry says she's also urging the government to re-examine the effectiveness of the urgent primary care model and lack of staffing. Health Minister Adrian Dix says the network of primary care centres is a way to address high overhead costs versus the family practice model.
And I think it's fair to say that resident doctors don't see in the current model of care for family practice sufficient opportunity. So we need more opportunities for resident doctors. Doctors
are in the process of collective bargaining with the BC government on a new contract. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
The BC restaurant industry says it's facing a crisis when it comes to hiring staff. The widespread labor shortage has left many restaurants pleading for people to come work for them. And as Janella Hamilton reports, it's forced some businesses to think of new ways to attract and retain workers.
The hustle and bustle of a busy bakery is a welcome sight for Frank Point, owner of Faubourg in Vancouver. But as business picks up, he says hiring staff to meet the demand has been challenging.
I've been in the business for the past 11 years now. This is the first time we face such a situation.
And with a limited team, Point says he has been forced to reduce operating hours and menu options. He's now having to find new ways to attract prospective employees.
To reduce the stress as much as we can, to provide more flexibility, to provide something that others don't, our competitors don't. For instance, in my case, I provide the medical plan to my staff. They don't have to pay for it.
Management at Maxine's Cafe and Bar say they too are desperate to attract new staff.
It's like being behind the 8 ball all the time. So we are trying to hire 2, we lose 1. I would hire someone and give her a better wage, and then suddenly she comes back to me and they got offer even something better somewhere else. And it's getting hard to compete at this point.
Labor shortages are everywhere, says the president of the BC Food Services and Restaurant Association.
Labor shortage in British Columbia is a crisis. Out of the 190,000 people who work in this industry, we're 30 to 35,000 people short.
It's very, very stressful. It's stressful because we cannot provide the level of service.
Point says they've been trying to hire more skilled international workers like Alejandro Martinez.
You have the chance to interact with different people from different countries, also to practice your English.
But Tostenson says with the immigration backlog in Ottawa, hiring skilled workers from overseas has not been easy. So there's no quick fix for a problem that's leaving the industry hungry for employees. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Big changes in the world of BC oil and gas today. The province says it's overhauling the sector's royalty system and even eliminating one of its largest oil and gas subsidies. The current system, which is meant to see profits earned by private oil and gas companies shared with the public, was implemented in the 1990s. But 3 decades later, the province says natural gas production, market conditions, and climate change concerns have changed dramatically, resulting in a, quote, broken system that costs the government a lot while offering few economic benefits to the public. Today, Premier Horgan says an overhaul is overdue.
Too long, the system of royalties for oil and gas has set us up to a situation whereby, rather than British Columbians benefiting completely from these resources, we've seen extremely large profits for oil and gas companies, while British Columbians have had to pay more for their heating costs as a result.
The new royalty system will be phased in starting September 1st. The province says it expects to see the minimum royalty rate go up from 3% to 5% within 2 years. But while the province says the overall is intended to help address climate change, policy analysts say the plan that is happening shows little and does little to reduce BC's greenhouse gas emissions.
It should have signaled that it was going to be putting a firm cap on the amount of fossil fuels that could be produced in the province, and that cap would be lowering each and every year as we aggressively battled climate change. And they didn't do that.
Ottawa is banning Chinese telecom companies Huawei and ZTE from participating in Canada's 5G networks. The government cites national security concerns. It has taken years to deliver the decision. The government has been under pressure from the Conservative opposition at home and from international allies to bar the Chinese firms. The U.S. and Great Britain have already banned Huawei and ZTE. They also pointed to security concerns. A poultry farm in Abbotsford has been hit with the avian flu, and it's the first case to be detected at a commercial facility in the Lower Mainland in this most recent outbreak. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says the area has been placed under quarantine. It's believed the virus is being contracted through contact with infected migrating wild birds. Owners of small or backyard flocks are being urged to take preventative measures, including reducing human access to their flock. This is the 9th flock in BC where avian flu has been detected since the first detection at a North Okanagan facility in April. A BC Supreme Court judge has handed down one of the most hotly anticipated verdicts in BC politics today. Former House Clerk Craig James is guilty of breach of trust and fraud over improper expense claims. The verdict is the latest chapter in a saga that began in 2019 when James was escorted out of the BC Legislature by police. It was a scandal most notably marked by the purchase of a wood splitter. As Jason Proctor reports, the judge hasn't found him guilty of all the charges.
As former clerk of the House, Craig James was described as being like the CEO of the legislature, advising the Speaker and overseeing financial management of the seat of political power in this province. He resigned the position in 2019 in disgrace, ushered off the grounds of the ledge by police officers following a damning investigation which accused him of lining his own pockets at the public's expense. Today's verdict was the culmination of those allegations. James faced 5 charges in total, 3 of breach of trust and 2 of fraud. He was accused of improperly claiming a $250,000 retirement benefit and of spearheading a decision to buy a wood splitter and trailer in case of catastrophe at the legislature, but then keeping both of them at his home instead. And finally, prosecutors claim James submitted dozens of expense claims for items that were intended for his personal use. In the end, Associate Chief Justice Heather Holmes said the Crown had only made a fraction of the expense claims stick in relation to the purchase of dress shirts, a tie and a suit that James expensed as part of his work uniform, something the judge said he knew wasn't true. She said many of his other actions were suspicious, that he may have appeared careless with public funds, and that in her view, he wasn't entitled to the retirement benefit. But while all that might amount to a breach of an employee code of conduct, it didn't meet the level of a crime, largely because the Crown hadn't disproven the explanations that James gave. Solicitor General Mike Farnworth told reporters today that he was relieved by the decision.
I think all of us in this building were disappointed by the events that took place. It was, it was a very sad day for this institution, and what's important now is that the case has been heard by a judge who has weighed all the evidence and has made their finding. And what's critically important is that significant changes have been made in how this place operates, how the clerk's office functions, so that this does never happen again.
A sentencing date will be set next week. There's no minimum sentence for breach of trust, but there is a maximum sentence of 14 years. Jason Proctor, CBC News, Vancouver.
The unseasonably cold spring means snow is still falling on BC's mountains. Snowpacks are far above normal levels in many parts of the province. But as John Hernandez tells us, that means a heightened risk of avalanches and floods once temperatures rise.
Those are so handy.
Yeah, those are.
Alexi Liotti and Manny Oyarsi couldn't ask for better conditions atop Mount Seymour. The snow is just meters away from where they parked their car.
We have parking lot access.
Yeah, pretty epic. Blessed.
A recent storm surge meant more snow falling on the North Shore mountains. The prolonged winter conditions, a bonus for some.
We were talking about that in the car, how normally May it's like spring riding. It's like t-shirts and slush. And you're lucky if you're able to do this.
But it could lead to some problems down the road. Provincial forecasters estimate the snowpack is about 28% above normal levels for the time of year. The numbers elevated due to the unseasonably cold spring.
With very cold temperatures through April, averaging about 1.5 to 4.5 degrees below normal, it led to both a delay in snowmelt and then further accumulation of the snowpack.
And with summer approaching, concerns now over what might happen if there's a prolonged influx of heat similar to last year's heat dome, causing the snowpack to rapidly melt.
If we got to a period of 5, 6, 7 days of maybe 6 to 8 degrees above normal, that could be quite a significant melt event that could lead to significant flooding, and it would impact many parts of the province simultaneously.
Along with the risk of flooding also comes a heightened risk of avalanche. Those taking to the backcountry are asked to be vigilant.
When that does happen, when it does get really warm, it's important to keep in mind that larger and possibly quite destructive avalanches could become possible at that time.
Destructive forces of nature that can hopefully be avoided by a gradual rising of temperatures. The province says there are no signs of an extended heat wave in the near future, but as we've seen in years past, a lot can change in a matter of days. John Hernandez, CBC News, North Vancouver.
A Ucluelet woman is assessing the damage to her family minivan after a wild intruder let itself in.
The time, I thought that poor bear, he's just frantic. He needs to get out, but I was too afraid to open the door.
Fleming says she heard the horn honking on Friday and thought someone was breaking into her Honda Odyssey. Instead, she found a bear had gotten inside the van and closed the door. It was unable to find a way out. Stuck inside, the panicked animal got its claws into everything. She called the police, and an officer freed the bear by tying a rope to the door handle. You can see the bear escape and take off past the front of the van. And another animal encounter that has people talking, this one further south on Vancouver Island. A mom has become a viral sensation for saving a family pet from the grip of an eagle, all while breastfeeding.
Like, that's mom life summed up. Like, something is always going on when I'm feeding her, and I'm just always on the go.
Kate Oakley is a mom of 3, and she was nursing her baby girl Monday evening. That's when the family's pet goose, Frankie, suddenly started screaming. An eagle had swooped down, grabbing the goose by the neck. Half dressed and holding her daughter, Oakley ran at the bird, charging ahead until it let go of Frankie and flew away. Since being posted online, video of the attack has picked up more than 1 million views. Amazing stuff. I mean, when you got to do something, you got to do it, right? You got to get it done.
I totally. I think we both know. I don't know if we've ever had to tackle a goose, but yeah, multitasking is a whole new level once you become a mom. So yeah, props to her big time. We've got a very great forecast to talk about, Anita. I'm thrilled, and you can see the beautiful sun coming in. If you enjoyed today, I'm so excited to tell you about the forecast ahead. But first, got to take you back to what's happening on the island today. Yesterday's intense windstorm led to dozens of trees coming down on power lines and homes. So BC Hydro crews were out today. Still a few thousand without power tonight, and it may be another night before that power is returned. About 6,000 customers across the southern Gulf Islands, 17,000 homes and businesses across the main island. The peak yesterday, 167,000 customers across the south coast without power. That windstorm is quickly tracking east, though, and we are left with a much better day for cleanup and also a much better forecast. Check out the current temperatures right now, 14 in YVR, 13 down towards Victoria. Things are going to warm up as they clear out each day over the next few days, getting an extra degree until we land in the high teens for the weekend and beyond. Now, tonight we are tracking a few thunderstorms across the interior, and we'll watch for that risk of instability again tomorrow. That low pressure system, it's hopping over the Rockies, but it's leaving behind some instability. So not everyone getting into the blue skies all day tomorrow, but I'm going to pause you tomorrow afternoon. Notice what builds in off our coast. That is a high pressure system. I've not had to put one of these in the forecast in quite some time. It's really our first high pressure that tries to stick around for more than a day. And look at how it clears everyone out for the weekend. Now, Saturday mid-morning, we may see a little stray shower. A trough tries to ride in that northwesterly flow. Otherwise, it is a fantastic looking forecast if you've been hoping for warm and sunny, and everyone getting into it across the province. And again, it's more than just one day. We get Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and maybe even Tuesday until a little system moves in on Wednesday. Those temperatures at and above seasonal. And Anita, as we heard from John earlier in the show, nice that this isn't a dramatic warm up. We're not looking at accelerated flooding. So we actually just get to enjoy this stretch guilt-free. It's the best.
That is the best, and that looks like the perfect forecast to me.
I'm going to take all the credit, even though I had nothing to do with it, but let me have this. I feel so glad giving it to everyone.
It's all yours, Johanna. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, after nearly 7 decades soaring the friendly skies, a Langley pilot has decided to cap off his career with a cross-country farewell. George Miller, who founded the Fraser Blues aerobatic team, packed up his legendary Ryan Navian fighter plane and departed for New Brunswick and a hangar that holds a special place in his heart. Take a look.
This girl is temperament. Start about now. Well, you see, I'm 87 years old, and I felt that I had to pick my time carefully as to when I wanted to hang up my spurs.
At the hangar line, and then taxiing out, we'll be holding short of the active for an engine run-up and then taking off at 0 9.
I was born in 1935 and grew up in Newfoundland on an island called Fogo Island, not far from Gander Airport, which everybody seems to know. It was a good life as a kid. I was raised close to the family, but decided after seeing a float plane one day when I was probably about 6 or 7 years old that I got attracted to it. So at 18, as soon as I hit my 18th birthday, I was gone to join the Air Force.
Chatham, New Brunswick, population 3,000. In summer, it's famous for its salmon run. It's also the home base of the Golden Hawks.
As the good Lord would have it, I made it and became a pilot.
Flight Lieutenant George Miller, 27, solo pilot from Ottawa, Ontario, his first year with the Golden Hawks.
And had the opportunity to be selected to try out for the Golden Hawks aerobatic team.
While we're setting up our timing pass to come in for the bomb burst, George, you'll be carrying out your 8-point roll.
Yes, in that case then I'll put the circle well into wind, so by the time you get there it'll be in front of the crowd.
Excellent.
Later to be a team leader of the Snowbirds, our national team now. And then when I retired and was managing Langley Airport, I formed a team called the Fraser Blues.
Whiskey Oscar Fox, Roger, thanks so much. Have a nice flight. You too.
And I thought after that, what am I waiting for? This was probably the best time. I made plans to sell my aircraft. I didn't want to sell it to someone that I really felt did not know how to fly it well or would treat it well. Kevin from this museum, who I know so well, called me and said, George, is there any way that we can get your aircraft? And I said, well, what do you want it for? And he said, well, you know, you've flown the F-86 with the Golden Hawks. You've flown with the Snowbirds. We got your stuff here. I didn't go any further. And I said, Kevin, you've got it. I'm going to donate it to you. And that's what I did.
And it didn't take a lot of arm twisting to convince them that it was a great idea. The reason it was important to us to get it is that with the Golden Hawks being formed here in 1959, they were a huge part of Canada's aerobatic team history.
Seen here with me is a young lady, 27. She's an absolute wonderful maintenance engineer. She's a commercial pilot. She has ambitions in that way, and also a private pilot. I said, come on, be my co-pilot.
Well, I went as, I guess, a mechanic and aircraft maintenance engineers, a just-in-case type thing, but yeah, about halfway, then we started having engine trouble. It was running pretty rough, and yeah, after I was trying not to think it's please don't be a cylinder, but it ended up being a cylinder, and it was the worst one to change the number 6, which is here. You have to take the prop off and the cowl off. The cowl usually flips up, but that one's bolted on, and then yeah, replaced that in Kenora and went from there. This one's special. You can see the same school plane over and over. They're all the same, but these are special.
I love this part of the country, the East Coast, and particularly this airbase here, to me, is central to my life. Because when I joined and ended up as a 18-year-old joining the Air Force, I knew nothing about anything except flying. And I particularly wanted to be on fighters. And that's all in Chatham. This was our major fighter base, like Cold Lake is right now in Alberta. This Chatham was it. So this airport here has really close relationships with me. It's a part of my soul, really.
Whiskey Oscar Fox, go ahead.
It's sort of sad, and I know because particularly for this aircraft, because I've loved this aircraft so much. You know, it's been such a joy to fly. Any job that I've had in the Air Force or anything that I've done subsequent to that, when I finish, I don't have any regrets about it. I loved what I was doing and move on to something else. I love the time, I love the people, I've made friends that I'll have forever. And I can see coming down to Newfoundland, dropping by here, and they come in here and see an aircraft that is a true legacy of the Fraser Blues. I want the family to be able to see that. I gotta admit, I get a little pinch in the gut when I look at it because we have this special relationship, and I just love that airplane. And I'm hoping that I will come back here and I'll take Freya with me. I'm going to give you these keys. This is a that would be the last time I would see it, but it's a real gut wrencher to give it up. But it's in the best possible care. It's cold here.
Emotional for sure. And, you know, George was actually going to make the flight in the summer, but he woke up on a Sunday, he saw the perfect tailwind, and he decided to take off the next day on a whim. Happy retirement to you, George Miller. And to you watching our show tonight, thanks for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.